Hello, my name's Jessica. I'm from 5 Years Time. For the past 3 years, I've been managing an angel investment fund called Synergy Growth. We've invested in over 30 startups in the field of technology. I've been a board observer for some of those startups, and I've also advised them on things like investment readiness and fundraising, but also business planning and long-term strategy. I'm also an active mentor in the startup community in London, and I mentor with organisations like Google Launchpad, Angel Academy and Bethnal Green Ventures. Today we're going to talk about creating and managing great relationships with your investors. So if you're thinking of raising investment, this will be one of the most important relationships for your business. So the structure is going to be, first of all, we're going to look at creating a great relationship from the get-go at the point at which you are looking for investors to invest in your business. Then we're going to look at managing the relationship with investors during the due diligence process. And finally, we're going to look at managing your relationship with your investors once they have actually invested in your business. So when you start on your fundraising journey, it's important to create a great relationship with your potential investors from the get-go. If you can, it's really great if you can meet the investors you're interested in attracting face to face. Once you know which investors you want to approach, you can see if you can find out whether from their website or their social media accounts where they might be hanging out or giving a talk or which events they might be attending. And that will be a good way for you to get in front of them. If you can't get in front of an investor face to face, see if you know anyone who can do a warm introduction. Again, this will help set you apart and make you stand out of the crowd because investors have a lot of people contacting them, and it just means that you will stand out from the rest. Now, during your fundraising phase, it's important to remember that investors are busy people, so they might not get back to you straight away. So it's fine to chase investors, give it a week or two so that they have time to get back to you. Just when you do chase them, be professional. You can be persistent and chase them, and if they haven't got back to you, then it still might be a potential yes. So do keep asking, but remain professional. Now, some investors will say no. In fact, perhaps a lot of investors will say no before you get your yes. So if they do say no, be gracious about it. It's fine. It's probably not you, it's them. Your opportunity may not be right for them. It might not be a market they're interested in investing in, or it might not be the right stage of investment for them. So it's completely fine. Just remain gracious about it. See if you can get feedback. If you can get feedback, that's really amazing, and you can find out if it might be something that put them off in your pitch or in your business plan. Having said that, a lot of investors do not give feedback. This is because once they've decided to say no, they don't want to start a conversation with you where you try to convince them otherwise, and then it sort of wastes your time and theirs. So sometimes they won't give you feedback, and that's fine also. Just be gracious and move on to your next potential investor. So now we're going to talk about managing a great relationship with your investors during the process of due diligence. So investors will normally start due diligence at the point at which they're interested in investing in your startup. They might even have potentially made a soft offer. The purpose of due diligence is to assess, first of all, whether your company is compliant and is in good standing, but also to look at the potential of the business, both in terms of how quickly you can grow your product and the size of the market. Due diligence can take a really long time, and this can be anywhere between 2 weeks to 6 months. In general, the more money you're raising, the longer the due diligence will take. This is because the investor is taking a greater risk on you. Because due diligence can take such a long time, make sure you're ready at the point at which the investor is ready to start due diligence. So start putting all your documents together when you go out to fundraise. So this is all the documents that you've created in order to set up your company, and anything such as your employee contracts, your supplier contracts, and any agreements you have with clients. So start filing them all together so that you're ready to share that folder at the point at which the investor is ready to receive it. So be professional in the way that you put the documents together, and stay professional when you communicate with investors. Most of all, be patient. As I said, the process can take a really long time, and they will come back to you with a lot of questions, which means they will dig into your company a little bit further. So it's very important that you don't show that you're getting frustrated, and that you answer questions as best as possible. If you don't know, say that you don't know and that you're going to find out. But if you don't answer questions or appear frustrated or refuse to share information, at best you will come across as a difficult founder to work with, and they might not feel like they can spend the next 5 to 10 years with you. At worst, they will feel that you might be hiding something or that there's something wrong with the company, in which case they might pull out. And I have seen instances where investors do pull out at the point of due diligence because the founder has not managed the process very well. The due diligence phase is an opportunity also for you to do your own due diligence. Remember, a relationship with an investor is as important as any other relationship in your life, and you might be involved with these people for the next 5 to 10 years. So take your time to find out a little bit more about them. Maybe see if you can speak to one of the founders that they've worked with in the past and found out what that's been like. Then you can find out a bit more about how they work, what skills they have, and what expertise they might be able to help you with. So finally, we're going to talk about how to manage your relationship with your investor once they've actually invested in your company. So once you've taken investment into your business, this is really going to change the way that you manage your business. You are going from something that was just your own and potentially, being run like a lifestyle business to something where you're going to have to take a lot more risks. Now, from the investor's perspective, remember that 9 in 10 startups fail. That means they've taken a huge risk on you and they've decided to invest in you rather than in somebody else. So in return, they're going to expect you to take big risks as well. They've given you money to invest in order to grow the business. So you're going to have to make that money work and invest it in places that are going to help you reach the milestones that you've set. So it's a little bit of a step change in terms of your attitude to your business, and you're going to have to be a little bit less averse and a little bit more ambitious. Secondly, investors expect to be kept updated. So make sure that right at the beginning of your relationship with them, you decide what the process is going to be in terms of updating them. Are you going to update them once a week, once a month, or once quarterly? Generally, updates are expected more regularly at the beginning and then can be more quarterly or yearly later on. And this is generally because the relationship is still early on and they're still getting to know you and how you work. And they just want to make sure that you're doing what you said you would do at the time that you were fundraising. Although writing updates might feel like a little bit of waste of your time, it is really important to keep them updated and to make sure that they know what you're up to and that you're keeping track with what you'd set out to do. They're also a great exercise for you. They help you keep track of the milestones that you set out and making sure that you're achieving those. So it's always good to do an update in writing because then you can refer to it later on down the line. If there's been a misunderstanding, you can always refer to that written document. Do make sure you meet with them face to face at least once a year or more, or pop in to see them if you're in their neighborhood, or invite them to an event. That way you're keeping the relationship personal, you're maintaining that emotional connection with them. They can see your passion every time they meet you and they want to support you further. Sometimes if you email an investor that you haven't seen for a few months asking them for more funding, they might sort of have lost that feeling a little bit and might not support you. But if they've seen you recently and they've remembered how passionate you are, they might actually be more inclined to support you going forward. When you write an update, make sure you share the good and the bad. Tell them what's going really well, but do also tell them what's not going so well. It's very important that you're honest and transparent, and that's for two main reasons. Number one is investors hate surprises. At some point, you might need to change direction of the business or make a really big strategic decision because things haven't gone to plan. But if they're taken by surprise and you take them off the back foot, they might not be very likely to support that decision. If they've been kept updated during the whole process, they'll understand why they're making that decision and they'll want to support it. And the second reason is they're more likely to help you. Remember, if you've chosen your investors right, they have skills and expertise that can really help you. So if you tell them what's going wrong and you ask for help, they have an interest in making sure that you're successful and they will go out of their way to help you. If you do go out to your investors and ask them for advice, you need to make sure that they know whether you followed that advice or not. And if you haven't followed that advice, you need to explain why. Otherwise, they might feel disappointed that you've gone out and taken some of their time, they've offered advice, and then you've not followed it. If you don't follow their advice, that's completely fine. You're not going to be able to take on board every piece of advice that you get, but do get back to them and make sure they understand why you've decided that this time you're not going to take that advice on board. If an investor is keen to offer you advice, even when you haven't asked for it, do listen to it. Remember that they are experienced people and that they have skills and careers behind them in the field that your business is in. So they might actually have something important to contribute. However, if you decide not to follow that advice, do explain to them why. Again, it's very important that you maintain that good relationship with them and that they understand the decisions that you make. And just to be clear, when an investor invests in your business, they will own a portion of your business. And that means they can have a say in certain decisions that you make. At the top level, typically you will need 75% shareholder consent for really big decisions in your business. So that can be things like changing the name of your business or taking on a loan or dramatically changing the strategic direction of your business. So they will have a vote on those decisions, and it's important for you to bear that in mind when you select your investors. If you're not comfortable with that, then you might want to think about whether getting investment is right for you. If an investor comes on board with a significant contribution to your fundraise, it's possible that they might own between 5 and 10% of your business. In that threshold, typically you would offer them a board observer position. That means they can attend your board meetings. Now, they won't be allowed to vote, but they can be in the room, listen to what's going on, and have an influence on the decisions that you make at board level. If an investor comes on board with either more than that and they're going to own more than 10% of your business, typically you would offer them a board director seat. And that means that they do have a vote that's on par with the directors within the business and they can influence day-to-day management. Now, this can feel a little bit scary, but if you've picked the right investors for you, then actually that's a huge help. They will help you make decisions that you might not be used to making or not have experience in. Remember, most investors know what they're doing. They have skills and expertise in the field that your company has started in. So when you do select investors, make sure they have skills and expertise that you need. Also make sure they work in a similar way to you in terms of character and personality. And most of all, make sure that if you do achieve what you've set out to achieve and achieve the milestones that you've agreed with them, make sure that they are likely to follow on in your next round. It's very important for you to have investors of value that can bring more than just the money, but can also help you with your business. It's very important that when you consider bringing on an investor, you can see what else they can bring other than their financial investment. What other skills and expertise do they have that they can share with you to really help your business grow? And also, if you do achieve the milestones that you've set out with them, are they likely to invest again and follow on into your future rounds? Make sure you have long-term support from them, both financially, but also in terms of everything else that they can share with you. Also make sure that an investor understands what you're trying to achieve and that they understand the risks that you're taking with your business. Make sure that your investors understand your vision for your business and that they are aligned with that vision. Do they understand what exit plans you want to achieve, and are they on board with those exit plans? Do they understand the challenges you might face and the risks with the market you might be entering? That way they'll be more supportive when you face barriers or challenges. So if there's 3 things that I want you to take away from this video today, is number 1, be patient and persistent when it comes to finding your investors and getting them to invest. Secondly, during due diligence, make sure you are professional and transparent. And thirdly, once you have your investors on board, make sure you are completely honest about what's happening and make sure you always share your ambition and your passion.